What's up, everybody? Welcome in. How's everybody doing? What's up? This is maybe it's a Before the Hedges After Dark edition. I've been on the road a lot these last couple of days doing my job. And so we had a late start tonight for Dog Nation's Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. Moose Thames, man, how are you? Big General, how are you? You guys are the first two men through the door. Um, we are sitting here on the back porch. Hope everybody's having themselves a good week so far, a good Wednesday night so far. I want to do this. It's just kind of know your audience type stuff. I would like to know, if you guys feel like sharing, I would like to know hometowns of everybody that's chiming in tonight. Not where you live, your hometown. It'd be very curious for me to know that. I'll go first. My hometown is North Georgia. My hometown is Ellijay, Georgia, the apple capital of the world. I guess that's what they still call it. Great place to go tubing. Great place to get on the Cartier River. Lots of apples, beautiful mountains. And also, before you guys jump on my shirt, let's talk about this shirt because in a while, next week, here's some bad news. There will not be a Before the Hedges next week because next week I will be somewhere where I will need to wear this shirt next Wednesday night. I will be on holiday, if you can ever say a recruiting reporter is on holiday. Jeff will be on holiday next week for Hedges, so I will not be able to join you live, but certainly there will be a lot going on to talk about in the days to come. If you guys are just joining us, Before the Hedges brought to you by Kroger. I'm Jeff Sintel. This is the red holiday vacation shirt that I just decided I'd break out a week early, especially since getting a late start tonight. But I wanted to make sure we had a program this week because we weren't going to have a program next week. And also because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I think the first and foremost, the thing, Foster Moss, I like that, man. You made me laugh. Hopefully I'll be coaching an exciting Pro Bowl, not the farce that the Pro Bowl has turned into today these days. But I think the headline of our show, I wanted to kind of open up with that, is because I think right now you look at Georgia, they have 13 commitments. I would not argue with anybody that said they probably really only have about 12 or 11. But right now they are rated number 9 nationally. I think that's a good place to start because they're number 9 nationally with 13 commitments. And that's on the 24/7 Sports team composite ratings. But as you guys know, things can change very quickly, especially in the month of July. And when you look at Georgia, really quickly, I'm going to have a story up probably tomorrow that kind of takes a look at SEC recruiting in general. I kind of consider right now to be the midpoint or halftime of the 2023 recruiting class. Who's ahead of Georgia? There's LSU with 15 commitments, Miami with 14 commitments, Penn State with 17 commitments, Tennessee with 18 commitments, Texas with 18 commitments, Clemson with 17, Notre Dame with 19, and then Ohio State with 18. So all those schools in front of Georgia, they all have more commitments. Arkansas is actually, let's take a moment here for Sam Pittman. Everybody play that jukebox in your home if you got one, because Coach Pitt has Georgia, has his Hogs right on the heels of Georgia at number 10 in the country in recruiting. Of course, they have 15 3-stars, they have 7 4-stars, and they have 23 commitments. But right now, Arkansas is top 10 in the nation in recruiting, and that's pretty good for Sam Pittman. But the premise of where I'm going here was simply really quickly, Georgia can elevate to the number 3 class in the country by the end of the month. And, kind of a roadmap about how that happens. Let's look at it. One of the things we're going to show you today is how busy the month of July has been tonight. And we're going to go through a lot of the commitments that have been made already from guys that at one point, I'm going to stress that at one point, were considered, very likely good shots at going to Georgia. So that has often changed a lot in recruiting, especially over the span of months or weeks or even days. But over the next 2 weeks, let's look at it. I think everybody knows by now, Troy Bowles is set to make his announcement on July the 16th. Folks, that's Saturday. July. Then on July the 19th, that's next Tuesday, Jamal Jarrett is set to make his decision out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And then on July 23rd, it's Janelle Aguero that is set to make his decision on July the 3rd. We still have Kelton Smith there because Kelton Smith's kind of back and forth about whether he still wants to do that date or not. He's told me hot and cold a little bit with that right now, but that's what's coming up in the month of July. Georgia gets all those commitments right there. If Georgia goes 4 for 4 for that little, what is that called? Is that called a horse racing? Folks, help me out. It's definitely not a 3. It's not a parlay. It's not superfecta. It's not a trifecta. But if Georgia goes 4 for 4, let me just do that. If Georgia makes that quad box happen, they would end up, I believe, by looking at the 24/7 sports calculator, they would end up number 3 in the country or number 2 in the country, close for that. I want to address a couple of things because I see it popping up. Justin Sisk, how are you? Greg Aiken, how are you, sir? Hope you and your bride are doing well. Ken, I think that's it. I'm not as PD Whitestraw, man. You come at me with that. I mean, I'm waiting for somebody to say the nose is like my shirt. First of all, guys, I'm on my back deck, and I've got 2 huge spotlights on me right now. So, listen, I used to do TV, and I used to have to powder my nose. I have to put matte powder on it to take the shine off. I don't do that anymore. So it's basically like there's going to be shine. There's going to be a lot of red on my nose. It's part of – I try to get outdoors a lot. I got a job that takes me outdoors a lot, so that's kind of what happens there. But Joseph Kennedy, how are you? Quadfector, Sonia Prescott, thank you. Dropping some knowledge. Everybody knows a little bit something. You guys are joining us late. One thing we're doing, a fun little game to start things off, is I want you to represent your set. Drop your hometown. I'm curious to know what an average normal Wednesday night before the Hedges looks like in terms of where's everybody from? I know people can live in different places. I know people can move because of jobs and careers to different places, but I want to know where all you guys are from. And I started it off that I was from a country boy from North Georgia, if you guys can believe that. So one of the things I want to talk to you guys about is somebody was mentioning my back deck view. That's what it looks like right there. Anyway, to keep things rolling on, one of the other things I want to talk to you guys about tonight, I think it's probably maybe the bigger pressing topic, is everybody wants to know about quarterback. Everybody wants to know about, what's Georgia going to do at quarterback 2023 class. Let me tell you, this is what I have to say about Georgia's 2023 targets at quarterback now that Arch Manning has chosen Texas. Here goes. There you go. That's what I have to say about Georgia in 2023 targets at quarterback. It is my belief right now, and I'm going to project, I don't think Georgia's going to go after a quarterback in the 2023 class. I think they're going to go after a quarterback, double down their efforts, and go after a quarterback in the 2024 class. One other thing that was really interesting, some people have mentioned Texas. I think at the time Arch Manning committed to Texas, they had the number 19, 18 recruiting class in the country. And I think they're all the way up to number 2 now, maybe number 3 now. That was what the Arch effect happened for Texas. They had a lot of guys come in. Texas is currently number 4. A lot of top 100 guys. I think when Arch committed, there was only one other guy that was a top 100 recruit for Texas. That was a top 100 type prospect ranked in the country. And since then they've gone from one guy, and then Arch made 2, and now they have 4 guys in the top 100. So again, they don't really have that upper crust that a lot of schools have. I think Georgia's got 7 guys, maybe 6 guys in the top 100 right now. One of the things we also got to talk about is I shared my thoughts there on what I think is happening with the 2023 quarterback recruiting. I'm not going to waste anybody's time by throwing some names out there. I don't think Georgia will go after a name in the 2023 class. I think they will look to 2 names, Jaden Davis out of Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina, and also Julian Sayin There's going to be some stories coming up soon, hopefully soon, before I get out of here. I'm going on holiday on dognation.com, but here's a preview. I think Julian Sayin told me this week that that's the young man out of Carlsbad, California. Surfs a lot, does a lot of 707. He just had a 707, I believe, Tuesday night. Looked pretty good doing it, but he thinks his timeline might move up to October. He might make his decision by October. I spoke to Jaden Davis. I spoke to Julian Sayin both over this week. Both of them kind of told me that it feels like Georgia's recruiting them harder, and both of them can honestly say that their interest in Georgia has gone up, knowing that Arch is not coming in 2023. There'll be a little bit of separation in 2023 to 2024. So stock up, I would say. Georgia's stock up on both those guys. And that's what 2024 quarterback recruiting looks like. One of the things I thought was interesting to talk about since our last show was Raylan Wilson, the fantastic linebacker. They call him like a super back at Lincoln High in Tallahassee. He committed to Georgia, made C.J. Allen very happy, probably made Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart very happy as well. And now for linebacker, you've got Raylan, you've got C.J. Allen. And then the biggest remaining target there is Troy Bowles, who's set to make his announcement, as we said earlier, on Saturday. I think it's currently scheduled for a morning announcement. One thing that's pretty cool, you guys will probably see some pictures come out of it or some social media clips come out of it, but the Under Armour All-American game is having their summertime Future 50. They used to have it back in January, but they do it now in the summer. And pretty cool event. It's going to be on Saturday in Bradenton, Florida at IMG Academy. Raylan Wilson's going to be there. Troy Bowles is going to be there. Those are two guys that, potentially huge for the Georgia class. Raylan Wilson is committed. Troy Bowles you'll see his name in the top targets again really soon. But those two guys are going to be there. Pretty great guest list there. They're going to be working out as part of the Future 50. I think there's there's one more guy that the Future 50 that really stood out to me that's going to be there as well. It's kind of a Georgia is target for the class. And that would be Jonell Aguero. How could I forget Jonell? He is currently, according to the latest release that I got on the event, press release I got on the event, Jonell Aguero is going to be there, and also Jalen Hale. So obviously a pretty good event there. Major Georgia targets, and at least one commitment now there already in Raylan Wilson. Those guys will be working out together. And then by that time, when Troy Bowles will be working out at the IMG Academy Future 50, he still plans to make it. Currently, he does plan to make it. But if he does work out, that would be after he's made his likely college decision. Clarence Dawson. Peaches is actually somewhere around here. I see it. But, that's kind of a couple of things that are on my mind. The Raylan Wilson story. What else has happened since our last show? I'm just kind of trying to recap some things right now. Jabri Coleman, he is committed to the University of Georgia. That's a 2025 running back. It's pretty funny, guys. He just woke up one morning and he was like, yeah, I think I'm going to commit. And the way it works is you kind of call in and you're like, hey, will you accept the commitment? And Georgia would, because Mr. Coleman, who is at the same high school program that sent Tyke Smith off to college, and Tyke Smith went to West Virginia first before he went to Georgia. But Tyke Smith is now currently a huge proponent of Georgia and all things dogs. And this young man, a 2025 running back, committed in the 2025 class. He's the first commitment for the 2025 class. And pretty exciting to see a 2025 name come off the board. I have a lot of stuff to talk to you guys pretty soon whenever I can open up the packet there, I would say, about 2025 guys. You'll start seeing some things come up on 2025 because, folks, I'm going to tell you, I saw a 2025 prospect this week. Make sure I say this right. I think I like him as much as any offensive tackle I've ever seen in their sophomore season. And this is a young man that I went to go see this week. Really impressive rising sophomore offensive tackle. We'll get to his name a little bit later on in the week, but that's something to think about there as well as these big names and big decisions coming up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at some questions and I'm going to answer, because hey, maybe it's just vacation shirt I got on, maybe it's just whatever. Maybe it's the new microphone I've got. Can you guys hear the microphone? Is this thing on? Does it sound better than normal? Does it sound better if we improve the sound quality here on Before the Hedges? That's what we're always aiming for. Besides the CGI back deck, really, uh, that's just a great sunset. I got to say it's kind of why I like being out here on my porch. The other thing, Robert Maloney, you bring up a good question. I'm glad you asked. A couple of guys have asked this question. I want to make sure I get to it in our opening segment, and it's about. I think we have it. Maybe we have the tweet up yet, but if not, there's a lot of speculation now about Caleb Downs. And first of all, let me tell you, Caleb Downs, strong football player, incredible prospect, and I don't use those words lightly. I think if Caleb Downs, still got a senior year of ball, but I think if you put Caleb Downs at Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia, which is really his three finalists. I know Notre Dame's also in the mix there as well, but if you put Caleb Downs as any of those at any of those schools in any of those safety positions, in any of those depth charts, I think Caleb Downs would be starting his freshman year if he was there right now. Maybe by September, maybe by October, November. I think he's that good. He's that polished. He's physical. He's fast. He's very smart. Perhaps his best thing is he's a highly advanced player. That tweet, if we can pop it up one more time. So the initial tweet was there was a crystal ball dropped for Caleb Downs to Alabama. And Caleb Downs had the response he saw on Twitter because I think it was an Ohio State account, an Ohio State fan that tweeted at Caleb and said, "Hey man, what's the deal?" And they were like crying their eyes out. And then Caleb has the response, just as surprised as you. I mean, guys, I know Caleb has told me he wants to make his decision before his senior year. I believe him at that. Even his head coach said that because Caleb Downs, his senior season at Mill Creek High School means a great deal to him. I know everybody says that, but this is a young man that has put in more film time, watching film for Mill Creek, preparing for seasons up ahead than any other player at Mill Creek going back to his freshman season. So it means a great deal to him. I still think he's going to make his decision prior to the senior year, but you hear a lot of things. A lot of people ask me a lot of things. I don't really. What's the best way to say? I don't really give air to a lot of those things because a lot of it's perceptual. A lot of it is, tangentially based. And I'm not going to really go into what I think is happening there behind the scenes with Caleb or, why he's leaning this way or why he's leaning the other. It's strictly, he's told me this often and he says it so well. I don't really need to repeat it. I don't really need to embellish it. As he says, it's all about development as a man, development as a player. He wants to play in the league. So he wants to find a school that's going to develop him as a man, and he's going to be comfortable playing there, and they're going to get him ready for the league. That's about it. So, Alabama, excellent at that. Ohio State, maybe not the safety position. Can you say they're excellent at it, especially with the current coaching staff? But that off-the-field culture is great. Maybe Georgia's best shot is maybe camaraderie with guys that could be in the Georgia class. Maybe it's playing for two guys that have developed safeties very well, like Will Muschamp and Kirby Smart and the Georgia program. They're getting an A+ right now in development. I know Caleb Downs is a very popular name, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to. One of the things, I think somebody's brought this up, but safety right now, and Dan Jackson did a great job. Dirty Dan did a great job, but that was a walk-on non-scholarship player. And then you look at William Poole in his fifth year, Latravius Brini in his fifth year while they were at Georgia, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. While William Poole, those guys were 2017 signees, and they were guys that just really didn't play until they had just become 22-year-old men, college graduates almost, and they had soaked up 5 years of scheme in the Georgia system. I think, I think Georgia over the past couple of years, let's just call a spade. James Williams, they wanted him. There was a time when James Williams was going to come to Georgia. That's a 5-star safety now at Miami. Another 5-star safety, Terrion Arnold at Alabama. Another guy that probably would have been on the field for the national champions last year. And Georgia had to kind of go down the depth chart a little bit with players that were maybe scheme savvy, really smart, really intelligent, hard nosed football players, but not the athlete that a Terrion Arnold is not the athlete that a James Williams is. And then even in the last cycle, you've seen guys like Kamari Wilson. That was a guy that Georgia went after really hard at safety. Let's also not forget Major Burns is another guy that Georgia brought in at safety in the 2020 cycle that would have been on the field a lot last year for the national champions as well. So Georgia has not really nailed it down with their a lot of their safety targets over the last few years. They got David Daniel. They got Malachi Starks coming in this class. Malachi is a guy that it was interesting the Georgia roster had him pegged as an athlete and not as just a pure safety. Very interesting there because really, if you guys really want to get crazy, wild and crazy on a Wednesday night here, coming into Georgia, Malachi Starks' his greater skill set, at least proven, at least on the field, was as an offensive player with the ball in his hands. I think that's kind of indisputable because he was a prolific weapon on offense as kind of a single wing quarterback for Jefferson High School in Jefferson, Georgia. Very interesting there. One of the things we got, guys, is this show it becomes a podcast. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on SoundCloud. You can find it on Spotify. One of the things we do is this show's brought to you by Kroger. And one of the things that Kroger's been doing recently, we have a promotion through Dog Nation where we emphasize their new Morning Boost program. Don't know if you know about that, but take a look, take a listen for the latest Morning Boost from Dog Nation and Kroger.
Every day, the Georgia Bulldogs wake up on a mission to get better and boost their chances of once again winning the national championship. And Dog Nation wakes up to cover it all for you. This is the Morning Boost, presented by Kroger Boost.
Dog Nation, here's your Morning Boost for Wednesday, July 6, 2022. Everyone knows by now how well the national champions did in the 2022 NFL Draft. Well, the contracts, they've started to get signed, and the Dogs have made out handsomely. Trayvon Walker became the 5th Bulldog to go number 1 overall. Walker signed a 4-year deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars for a staggering $37 million. That princely sum included a $24.4 million signing bonus. Then there's all-everything defensive tackle Jordan Davis. The Outland Trophy and Chuck Bednarik Award winner now sits in a great spot for the College Football Hall of Fame one day. He was taken number 13 overall by the Eagles. He signed a 4-year, $17 million deal. That included a $9.55 million bonus. Both deals totaling up $54 million and $34 million in signing bonuses are fully guaranteed. Talk about a recruiting and an NFL development boost for the Dogs.
The Morning Boost from Dog Nation is brought to you by Kroger Boost, a new level of membership with Kroger that offers more savings and more benefits. It starts for as little as $59 per year and includes free grocery delivery and twice the fuel points, which means you could save up to $1 a gallon at the pump every time you fill up. That's good news everyone can use, and you can find out more at Kroger.com.
All right, guys, that was the message from Kroger. Funny, I like that. You guys are good with the jokes tonight. Not only have you guys, pointed out the red nose, but you've also, I saw that one. Somebody else had a Jimmy Buffett line in there. Cool. Yeah, man, I just wore a vacation shirt. I'm going to be on vacation soon. So, by the next time we go on Hedges, that was a nice segue for me to say, hey, next week, when that's your normal time for Hedges, Jeff's going to be on holiday. Love coming to this show. Love doing this show with you guys each and every week. But sometimes a man's gotta have fun. That's all I gotta say. Much less family time. And one other thing, guys, Kroger message right now is gear up for grilling. Turn up the heat and the flavor with the new favorites for every dish over the summer. Folks, Kroger has you covered for all your outside entertaining needs. Visit your local Kroger today or Kroger.com /summer-grilling. Kroger. 5-star grocery vendor, grocery supplier for sure. one of the things we do each and every week. We're going to have a little bit of change in the top targets. We've dropped the top targets by one, and why? That's not for any bad news. Is that's for a really good reason. That's because Georgia picked up a commitment from one of the top targets since our last program. Let's take a look at the updated version. I think it's version 8.2. Number 11, I think somebody had asked about, what's the big monster off defensive lineman? Well, you got two monster defensive linemen in this top targets for 2023. One's at number 11 and one's at number 1. Jordan Big Baby Hall, Florida, he dropped the top 10. Georgia made it. Florida made it. Those are kind of the schools of significance right now for Big Baby Hall. Really terrific defensive lineman out of Jacksonville, Florida. One of these days, I'm going to get around to writing the story of where that Big Baby name comes from because it's pretty cool. Troy Bowles, number 10, he makes his decision known on Saturday. Jesuit, Tampa, Florida. I think he's the number 2 backer in the country. That's a top 40-ish level prospect. The son of Tampa Bay head coach Todd Bowles. I want to know, everybody who knew that on the program. If you didn't know that on the program, I try to make sure I say it a lot with Troy, especially about his great film. But Troy is something to behold when you watch his film. Number 9, Samuel Mpemba. He recently dropped the top 8. Georgia was in that top 8. Jonel Aguero, we mentioned him, St. John's Prep, Lynn, Massachusetts. He makes his decision on July 23rd. James Smith, that's a guy, another huge hulking defensive lineman. Some folks call him Big Kong. James Smith's out of Carver High School. Number 6 is Hakeem Williams, Stranahan, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Number 5, Tyler Williams. Tyler Williams has a final 5. He still needs to take an Ole Miss official visit in September before he makes his decision on September the 27th. Folks, Tyler Williams is in the top 5 targets now for Dog Nation. And he didn't even play receiver until like 2 weeks before his first game a year ago. At this time last year, he was probably still the number 3 quarterback on his high school team. Didn't get any reps in his spring game. I love that story about Tyler Williams. Quay Russaw out of Carver High School in Troy, Alabama is number 4. Caleb Downs, we mentioned a lot of talk about Caleb Downs earlier in our show. There was a crystal ball dropped, and Caleb had an interesting reaction on Twitter. Crystal ball to Alabama. Number 2 is Justice Haynes, and number 1 is Jamal Jarrett, Grimsley High School, Greensboro, North Carolina. He makes his decision next Tuesday, July 19th. That will be his birthday. Folks, if you've not seen a lot of film of Jamal Jarrett, he's about 6'5", about 360 probably right now. He's still 16 years old, and he looks like a body double for Jordan Davis. That's really, really the best way I can describe how big he is. Jamal Jarrett. Those are your top targets, and some other names I want to flip the page on and give you guys a good read on where things are going right now. Let me see. There's a lot of guys that are I've decided over the last maybe month or two to kind of change the way I do this. There's like tiers. There's the top targets. There's some other names that are probably a little bit higher up on the shelf than others in terms of mutual interest. And then there's other guys to keep on the watch as well. Tyree Adams, he recently dropped his top 6. Georgia was in that. Robert Maloney, I see your question. You got some good ones tonight. Miami is just becoming a factor. They've got Mario Cristobal, a great recruiter. They've got South Beach lifestyle to sell, but they're also, just going to say it, they're probably the Texas A&M right now of this year's recruiting cycle. There are published reports that, one of the things that, Miami University, they have a very profitable healthcare sector, a very profitable hospital sector. And one of the things that they're going to start doing is they're going to start investing some of those profits into athletics for University of Miami Hospital. And one of those things is it's creating a larger NIL window collective opportunity for a lot of guys right there. So I saw a question there about how's Miami doing it? How is Miami putting it together? They're really kind of looking like the Texas A&M of this cycle right now. Some other names, Anthony Evans, Georgia's kind of is one of those top schools for him. Kelby Collins out of Alabama. Hear a lot of Georgia, Florida. He's interested in South Carolina now as well. If we can go back to that previous slide, one of the things I wanted to get to was Cameron James. That's a guy that took an official visit to Georgia in June as well. Samson Okolola, really impressive 5-star tackle. He visited Georgia in June. He getting a lot of attention, a lot of interest from Miami as well. Looks like Miami's trying to rebuild their offensive line in one class with one of those Sam Pittman type classes without Sam Pittman, but without Sam Pittman, but maybe Benjamin Franklin in terms of helping their spearheading their recruiting. Interesting name I want to bring to the table tonight and talk a little bit about. I try to spotlight one of these guys every week. That name right there I want to bring up is Chris Peel out of Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina. Chris Peel has taken one official visit right now. That was to Georgia. I'd look for him to take some in the summer. Not in summer, but one of the things that recruits are telling me about right now is that the last week of July is not dead. It's open. So it seems like every school is trying to get their targets back to campus. Georgia's going to have a cookout with a lot of their top targets and their top commits as well. But Chris Peel, first of all, it's about 6'2", 180, 175. Legit 4.38 speed, guys. 4.33 hand time, 4.38 laser timed. That's how fast he is at a cornerback position. He plays a couple of positions for his high school team. Will play running back and play corner. Everybody wants one of those big, long corners. He's very smart. He's very driven. Other schools in the mix for him there, I believe, are South Carolina, NC State, and Michigan. I think he's going to take a couple more official visits in September to a couple of games before he starts thinking about, is it time to make his decision? That was a little bit of intel drip, I guess I would say, about one of those guys on the other names to know, other names to watch list right there. He does like Georgia quite a lot. I think Georgia is a very major player still in Chris Peel's recruitment. Let's kind of go back. We had one more slide I wanted to get to right there. One more slide of names. Other names to know, Aloss Lennon. It's funny, somebody brought him up. He's getting crystal ball to Miami as well. Monroe Freeling, I think, is a name that, if I'm going to be very forthright, I'm going to say Monroe Freeling is a name that Georgia needs to move up into that top targets list sometime pretty soon. From maybe the bronze medal stage here, from the silver medal all the way up to the gold medal stage. I think that's a player that Georgia needs to have in this class out of Charleston, South Carolina. William Foles and Andy Jean, those guys are both receivers out of Florida. Andy Jean, I believe, is a Florida legacy. Connor Liu's a guy that could be making his decision anytime now from out of Kennesaw Mountain in Kennesaw, Georgia. Xavier McLeod, Caden McDonald. Awesome to look at this right here. Yeah, Steve Walden, you had that right. Georgia and Auburn. He's really going to be a great center for somebody. The most important positions for Georgia to restock: offensive tackle. Why do I say that every week? Because I think Georgia could lose Broderick Jones and Warren McClendon to the NFL draft, and that would be a very good thing. And then all of a sudden, Georgia's got a lot of guards that can play tackle, that have been playing tackle. Everybody forgets guys like Chad Lindbergh and Micah Morris, and who could forget Big Mims, of course. Mims would, probably be projected into a starting position at Georgia for the 2023 season. That's what his third season in college, where he can really make a strong case for the NFL. Wide receiver is always going to be the thing a recruiting guy talks about for Georgia for the years going forward. That's just a position where this program has done amazing and been bonkers at in a lot of positions, recruited a lot of rooms, stacked up a lot of depth charts with All-Americans. That's just a spot where Georgia's got to do a little bit better than they currently are. Running back and outside linebackers, those guys, I feel, are the most important restock positions, the ones that Georgia has to really hammer home in the 2023 cycle. Let me see the class at a glance. I mentioned earlier that Georgia was the number 9 or number 10 class in the country. They currently have 13 commitments. I believe they go 5 offense, 7 defense, 1 specialist. That's the kicker out of Louisiana, Peyton Woodring. They're number 9 nationally. Last week they were number 10. 5 in-state, 8 out-of-state. 1 5-star, that's A.J. Harris. Top 50 commits, that's 1. That's still Harris. Top 100 commits, that's 4. Georgia added another one of those with Raylan Wilson over the past week. I believe Wilson's number 72 overall. They have 7 top 150 commitments. They have 11 commitments in the SEC footprint, and still out of their top 5 highest rated commitments, 3 out of the top 5 highest rated guys are offense. And this class has to be stronger on offense than defense, although it looks like that's going to be very hard to do the way Georgia is recruiting off the defensive side of the ball. Let's do a quick look at the offer check. No need to spend a lot of time there. I don't think Georgia has offered anybody in the 2023 class in the last 2 weeks. 9 running backs, 36 wide receivers, 7 tight ends. You can kind of look at it. Georgia already has 2 tight ends committed, 20 offensive tackles, 27 corners, 14 safeties, 13 athletes, 1 kicker, 12 QBs, 17 interior offensive linemen, 15 linebackers. Those are now the pure middle linebackers, inside backers. 18 edge guys. Those are the outside linebackers, or those guys that would play the jack and an odd front, and then 39 defensive linemen. There you have it. Those are your offers. A few tweets I wanted to get to show you guys, tell you guys a little bit about what's going on. I think this has been the week where you see a lot of good work from CJ Allen. That's a guy that's really taking ownership of the class, trying to be one of those uber recruiters in the class. Let's look at him right there. Damon Wilson, guys. That is a fantastic defensive end. I would think very few people can claim that they're as talented him as a pass rusher outside linebacker as Damon Wilson is. Got a lot of Florida, Ohio State, Alabama to Damon Wilson's decision right there. Look at him, CJ Allen. This is his shout out right there to Damon Wilson. He was a guy that was in town that first weekend in June with a lot of heavy hitters. And then CJ wasn't done. CJ also threw one out to Todd Bowles after Raylan Wilson just committed. He's like, go Dogs 2 out of 3. Troy Bowles come home. That's, right there you have Raylan Wilson, you have CJ Allen, and he's throwing out a request. Raylan Wilson is joined the family, joined the Georgia linebacker room. He certainly would love to have Troy Bowles in there as well. I know Coach Glenn Schumann would as well. Bowles is down to it's really just Ohio State, Oklahoma, Georgia. A lot of noise over the last 6 weeks, I guess, more so for Oklahoma than maybe Ohio State there as well. But that's another name. And then, hey, guys, CJ Allen was not done. CJ Allen also threw one out to Big Ja. That's 6'5" 350-ish, 360-ish pounds, 16-year-old defensive tackle Jamal Jarrett. CJ's putting in work. Those were his 3 tweets. I think we have the tweet I wanted to show you, Raylan Wilson. Folks, type of linebacker room Georgia's trying to assemble. That's Raylan Wilson right there. He visited Georgia on the second weekend in June. Folks, really impressive story. We've written about that a couple times on DogNation.com. He's the son of the late Robert Wilson, who was a wide receiver for the Saints. He instilled a lot of great virtues and athletic principles in his siblings and his children, which would be Raylan Wilson's fellow siblings. All you got to say is this is a linebacker, returns punts, returns kicks for his high school team in Tallahassee, Florida, and he's also clocked a 10.91 in the 100 meters. Pretty stinking great. Pretty amazing there. Raylan Wilson. And then I think we showed it earlier in the show, but that was the tweet from Caleb Williams about Caleb Downs, where someone was reacting to a crystal ball pick for him to choose Alabama. And he's got that surprised as you response to that as well. He also said something to the effect of every school is in it until they see me put a hat on. So that's what's going on there. Some tweets, regarding I saw that we missed me for a second. Hey guys, I tried to rip through it. We got a late start, but I tried to rip through a lot of the food groups I want to give you guys every week about Georgia recruiting. Great to see what everybody's hometowns look like, where everybody's hometowns are, where everybody's from. I love the comments about the shirt. Hey, why not? Only one time in my life will I get to do it before the Hedges show with all you good people on July 13th, 2022. So I want to try to make the best of it. I see a lot of comments in there about offensive line recruiting. Joseph Johnson, thanks for the shout out. Man, I used to live in the Augusta area. My first child was born in Augusta. We lived in Evans, and I worked for the Augusta Chronicle there for about 4 years. Cole Rossiter brings up a great point. The Ernest Green III is very, very integral into what Georgia's future plans are at on the offensive line. I would imagine he might be a starter with Mr. Mims in 2023 as well. Let me see. Joel Moody's got me on the West Coast. Man, that'd be fun. He told me about this beach he goes to nearby where he likes to hit the waves and everything else. That sounds like a lot of fun. Spencer Quarles, has a question. Good question. Guys, hit me with some questions. I'm going to try to see if I can rip through a bunch of questions right now. I'm trying to do them tempo, hurry up, Todd Monken style drive here. Out of the top 11, let me see. Realistic top 11. Let me see if I can remember most of them. I think 5 or 6 is probably the over-under out of that top 11. Some of them are going to be pretty hard to do, but I fully expect Kirby Smart and his staff to win a very hard recruitment once every year. And that's why some of those names are on there. They're not just I say this every week, but I know we have some people that, haven't watched this before. Or they're trying this out for the first time. But that top targets list is really a mixture of how good I think they are, how much Georgia needs them, and then the mutual interest on both parties. That's what I think puts together my top targets. I don't do crystal balls, because if I did crystal balls, I'd certainly be giving a lot of stuff away that I don't feel as my role as an objective and a very I'm a reporter, guys. That's what I am. So like when I have information, I try not to release it, especially when the source doesn't want you to release it. And I've been doing this a lot of years. One of the things I'm not into is trying to spoil a young person's moment, especially a moment as special as this that they've worked so hard for. Just so everybody can say, hey, look what that guy did. Look what that guy knew. Let me see. With Freeling, Michael Corson, I think Freeling is a situation that Georgia's just got to – I think if Georgia shows him how important he is to the class and they really start prioritizing, I think Georgia gets in a good spot there with Freeling. Chris Etchison, I mentioned this at the top of the show. I'm gonna give you the recap. We're gonna go to the tape, and I'm gonna show you a replay of what I thought about everything I had to say that's important about Georgia recruiting a quarterback in the 2023 cycle. You guys hear the crickets? The crickets weren't there before, but that's my answer. I don't think Georgia's going to have any traction with any other future 2023 quarterbacks. Cole Rossiter, I think 2 is the great place to do that. You could go over, under. I think 2. I think Georgia's going to have a very strong class this year. Everybody's, back and forth. This is a time of year where people wonder and worry. I wouldn't really wonder and worry about this class anymore, really, if it's not happening. A lot of these things are happening under the orchestration of the way the staff kind of wants it to happen. And then the guys themselves want to have their certain specific days and timelines for doing it. And the University of Georgia, like a lot of schools, they don't want to begrudge any young man. They want to – this is what these young men work so hard for and dreamed about. They want them to control it. They want them to have control over it and everything else like that. But I would say this. Georgia gets the ideal inside linebackers crew. If they finish that out with Troy Bowles in 5 days or so, 3 days or 4 days or so, I don't think anybody can say that Georgia's brought in a better set of 3 linebackers in one class than they will with Raylan Wilson, C.J. Allen, and Troy Bowles. And then you start thinking what they could do on the defensive line. Pretty special. Pretty stinking special with what Georgia could do on the defensive line and also the outside linebacker position in the 2023 cycle. And heck, Georgia can end up with Downs and Aguero. I think that would shut up a lot of mouths about wondering about, where Georgia will be at safety. That would be the number 1 and number 2 safeties in the country. Be beating out a lot of schools with Alabama and Ohio State, Miami's for a lot of those guys. And I think the other thing you just got to remember is the Williams boys. I think Georgia has to sign Tyler Williams in this class. Such a great potential, a lot of room to grow, a lot of high floor for that young man. Hakeem Williams as well. I think receiver will really determine, especially what Georgia can do at receiver without that marquee Arch Manning quarterback in the class. And Michael Corson, listen, I would be stunned if they're not at least top 5. A lot of things will have to go wrong for Georgia not to be a top 5, because even if those the way Georgia recruits, even if a lot of those names on the top targets don't go Georgia's way, there's a lot of guys they can go to down their own list, down the board a little bit to put together a top 5 class. I think one of the things I think the composite is going to have to learn how to do is you see now teams are starting to be rated in some disciplines by the average player ranking rather than, a great example was Arkansas. We mentioned earlier in the show. Arkansas has 17 3-stars or something like that, or 14 3-stars or something like that in their class. So that's why they have a ranking so high. It's kind of what Tennessee did a couple years ago when they were trying to stay relevant. They just signed a bunch of 3-stars, and it looked like they had a top 5 class, and they could preach that to a lot of schools. But we all knew that was going to change because they had so many recruits compared to other schools. And when the other schools caught up, I think that composite averages can be a little misleading nowadays when it depends on how many guys you sign versus, I think a lot of people would realize is that would you rather have a class with 7 5-stars or no 4-star, no 5-stars, but maybe 24 stars. Everybody wants those premium players, those 5-star guys. So that's that. Guys, I'm Jeff Sintel. I've been your host for another edition of Before the Hedges. A little later than normal, but we got a late start on Before the Hedges, but I sure appreciate it. First of all, guys, I realize you guys could be anywhere. You could be looking at anybody with a Hawaiian shirt right now talking about college football recruiting at 8:30, 8:40, 9:40, 9:10 on a Wednesday night, but you chose to be here. I'm so grateful for that. I hope you got something out of it. Hope you learned a little bit more about Georgia recruiting. I told you a little bit more about quarterbacks, a little bit more about one of those prospects to look on the top targets list as well. Kind of shared my thoughts. Everybody wants to know how the class is going to end. Everybody wants to know, what's coming next. Everybody wants to know the dog's going to be in good hands. I think that's what we try to do each and every week. I thank each and every one of you for joining in. I'm Jeff Sintel. That's been your Intel. Folks, have a great week. Have a great next week. Take care of yourselves, and I can't wait to see you guys all again here on the pages of dognation.com and on a future Before the Hedges to come. Folks, you guys have been great. I always enjoy chatting with you each and every week. Now, before I got more moss flying into my mouth, you guys have yourself a great week. God bless everybody out there, and we'll see you guys again real soon.